They had it in their hands, the kind of chance people wait for a lifetime to see, the kind of moment that doesn't knock twice. It wasn't luck, it was destiny, leaning in close, offering them a gift wrapped in gold and silence. And yet, they hesitated. Maybe they thought the door would always stay open. Maybe they believed the sun would rise again in the same way. But the truth is, it slammed shut without warning, without mercy. Now years later they walk through life with a shadow at their back, a shadow shaped like what could have been. It doesn't scream, it doesn't rage, it simply lingers. In the quiet moments, in the sleepless nights, in the hollow space between their heartbeat and their thoughts, it waits, whispering the same cruel truth. You had it, and you let it slip. The weight of missed moments. There are moments in life that arrive without announcement. They do not wear crowns, they do not carry banners, they do not shout for your attention. They appear quietly, like a stranger in the distance, giving you a chance to notice or to turn away. And when you recognize them, when your heart stirs and whispers, this is it. Something inside you knows the world will never present this exact moment again. That is the weight of it, the sheer unrepeatable nature of a once in a lifetime chance. But for some, that weight feels too heavy. They falter. They convince themselves there will be another train, another sunrise, another golden thread of time that will weave itself into their path. They forget that some opportunities are not part of a cycle. They are singular events in the vast fabric of existence. The tragedy is that most people do not feel the full gravity of what they have lost until it is far beyond reach. In the moment, the choice feels small, just another decision among countless others. But later, when life unfolds without that choice, when the path bends toward a colder horizon, they begin to see it for what it was. The moment the tide could have turned, the moment the future could have been rewritten. It does not matter if it was a chance to love, to build, to speak, or to leap into the unknown. The pain is the same because they know, with every breath they take after it, that they were standing at the very edge of transformation. And they stepped back. Time, in its quiet cruelty, does not offer rewinds. The calendar moves forward without sentiment. The world does not stop to console you for what you lost. It simply continues as if the moment never existed. And yet, deep within, you feel its absence. Like a phantom limb, you sense the shape of the life you could have lived. You see it in flashes, in the things you might have built, the faces you might have met, the peace you might have found. It becomes a shadow you carry with you, one that lengthens over the years, until it stretches so far back you can no longer see the beginning. The weight of a missed moment is not measured in minutes or hours, but in the silent cost it demands every day afterward. It's in the way you pause before making decisions now, haunted by the fear of hesitating again. It's in the way your mind replays that fork in the road, endlessly editing the scene, imagining the words you should have spoken, the step you should have taken, the hand you should have held. But the past is not clay, you cannot shape it once it has hardened. And so the weight remains, pressing into the corners of your mind, whispering the same truth over and over. You were there, you saw it, and you let it pass. Some carry this burden quietly, never speaking of it, fearing that the world will not understand. Others try to drown it out with noise, new plans, new faces, endless distractions. But no matter how fast they run, the weight runs faster. It meets them in solitude, it greets them in reflection. It sits across from them at the table when no one else is home. And perhaps that is the deepest wound, not the moment itself, but the knowledge that you were capable of grasping it, and chose not to. That is the weight of missed moments, not anger, not blame, just a silent, relentless echo in the soul that asks a single, unanswerable question. What if the fragility of fortune is not made of stone? It is not a fortress you can live inside forever. It is glass clear, delicate and breathtaking, but always one careless moment away from shattering. Many believe fortune is a permanent possession, something they can keep in their pockets as they go about their lives. They forget that it is borrowed, not owned. It comes to you on its own terms, stays as long as you honor it, and leaves without apology when you take it for granted. The truth is, most people do not lose fortune because it was stolen. They lose it because they thought it could never disappear. There is a strange arrogance that comes with abundance. When everything seems within reach, when doors open easily, when the world feels like it bends in your favor, you start to believe this is how life will always be. But fortune is a visitor, not a resident. It arrives quietly, often disguised as ordinary circumstances, and it demands something from you: awareness, gratitude, courage. If you offer those, it might stay a little longer. But the moment you act as if it will never leave, the clock begins to tick. Some people think fortune is about money, possessions, or recognition. But its truest form is opportunity, the alignment of time, place, and readiness. You can have skill, but if the moment never comes, it remains unused. You can have dreams, but without the right opening, they remain unlit candles. Fortune is when all of it comes together, like a rare constellation in the night sky. You may only see it once, and if you turn away, thinking it will come again, you may spend the rest of your life staring at an empty horizon. The fragility of fortune is most evident in hindsight. When it's gone, you remember every detail: the way the air felt, the words that were spoken, the look in someone's eyes. You realize you were standing in the exact place you were meant to be, at the exact time you needed to be there, and you hesitated. And that's when you learn the truth. Fortune does not crumble all at once. It slips away piece by piece, unnoticed, until suddenly you reach for it and find nothing. It can be destroyed by the smallest things: a single moment of doubt, a careless word, a decision delayed. Sometimes it is lost because of fear, and other times because of pride. But always it leaves the same silence behind, and that silence becomes a mirror, showing you not only what you lost, but who you were when you lost it. It's a humbling reflection, because you realize that fortune is not just about what life gives. It's about what you are prepared to hold. Those who understand the fragility of fortune treat it differently. They move with care, as though holding something precious. They do not waste time pretending they have forever. They know the glass can break at any moment, so they cherish the light while it still passes through. And perhaps that is the lesson for all of us: to hold fortune lightly, but with reverence, to recognize that every open door may one day close, to understand that even the brightest sun eventually sinks below the horizon. Because fortune, in all its beauty, is not a promise. It is a fleeting guest, a fragile gift, and the greatest tragedy is not when it leaves, but when it was in your hands and you never realized what you were holding. The slow poison of regret does not arrive like a storm. It does not strike in a single violent moment. It seeps in quietly, like water finding its way through the smallest cracks, until one day you realize it has filled every corner of your soul. At first it feels like nothing: a passing thought, a fleeting memory, a small tug at the back of your mind. But regret is patient, it waits, it knows it does not need to crush you all at once. It can take its time, drip by drip, until it becomes part of your very blood. The most dangerous thing about regret is how it disguises itself. In the beginning, you tell yourself it's just a lesson learned, something you'll forget, but it does not let go. It grows in silence, feeding on what-ifs and might-have-beens. And then, in moments you least expect, it rises to the surface in the middle of the night, in the pause between conversations, in the sound of a voice that reminds you of a time when things could have been different. It doesn't shout, it whispers you should have. It whispers you could have. It whispers but you didn't. You see, time may heal many wounds, but regret is different. It is not an open wound. It is a scar that still aches when the weather changes. It never fully fades because it is not only about the past, it shapes how you see the present. You start to view life through the lens of that one missed moment, that one wrong turn, that one silence when you should have spoken. You begin to measure new opportunities not by their promise, but by the shadow of the one you lost. And here lies the cruelest part. Regret changes you slowly. It dulls your courage, making you hesitant when you should act. It convinces you to protect yourself from feeling that pain again, and in doing so, it ensures you will never take the kind of risk that could set you free. It tells you that safety is better than trying, that silence is better than speaking, that standing still is better than stepping forward. In this way, regret does not just live in the past, it controls the future. There are those who live entire lifetimes under its influence, walking carefully so as not to disturb it, as if it were some fragile glass they must carry forever. But regret is not fragile, it is steel. It will not break if you ignore it. It will simply tighten its grip until you forget what it was like to live without it. The slow poison of regret is not the moment you lost, it is the decades after, where every similar moment reminds you of what you failed to do. You may laugh, you may work, you may love, but in quiet hours, when the world is still, the poison rises again. It tastes like the truth you wish you could change, and the bitter knowledge that you never will, and yet, perhaps the only antidote is to turn and face it, to admit the loss, to accept the wound, to carry the memory without letting it dictate the rest of your story. Because regret will always whisper, but you can learn to walk past its voice, to reach for the next moment before it becomes the next missed one. And in that choice, not in erasing the past, but in refusing to repeat it, you might finally stop the poison from spreading any further. The silence after the storm, there is a peculiar kind of quiet that follows a great upheaval. At first, the noise of the storm fills every space, the arguments, the decisions, the desperate movements to hold on to what is slipping away. In that chaos, you are too consumed to notice anything else. But storms, no matter how fierce, do not last forever. Eventually, the winds die down, the shouting stops, the final decision is made, and then comes the silence. It is not a peaceful silence. It is the kind that feels unnatural, the kind that hums in your ears, because the world has suddenly stopped demanding your attention, and in that space, the truth begins to settle. This silence is not absence, it is presence. It is the weight of reality pressing into you now that the distraction of noise is gone. You begin to hear things you couldn't before, the echo of your own heartbeat, the thoughts you've been running from, the soft but relentless voice of consequence. In the storm you had urgency, in the silence you have clarity, and clarity can be the heaviest burden of all. The silence after the storm is when you finally realize the full shape of what you've lost. It is when the adrenaline fades and the mind stops racing, allowing every detail to come into sharp focus. You remember the moments you could have changed the outcome, the times you could have spoken differently, chosen differently, moved differently. And because nothing is distracting you anymore, those moments replay in your mind with perfect precision, over and over. What makes this silence so haunting is that it offers no battle to fight. There is no action to take, no argument to win, no gesture to make that can undo what has been done. All that remains is the stillness of finality, the quiet knowledge that the storm was the last chapter of that particular story. And so you are left to live with what the storm has taken and what it has left behind. Some try to fill this silence quickly, rushing into new noise, new people, new distractions, anything to avoid sitting in the stillness. But no matter how fast they move, silence knows how to wait. It returns when the lights go out, when the room is empty, when the world finally stops for just a moment. It sits with you then, not as an enemy, but as a reminder. It is telling you, this is what remains. This is the landscape after the winds have passed. And perhaps that is why the silence after the storm feels so heavy, because it asks you to accept that you survived, but not unchanged. The things you once held may be gone, the opportunities you once had may have vanished, and the person you were before the storm may not exist anymore. What you are left with is a version of yourself that has been stripped down, altered, made raw. And in this rawness, you see the truth without decoration. The storm may have been loud, but the silence is where the real reckoning happens. If the storm is the breaking, then the silence is the living with what has broken. It is slower, quieter, but no less powerful, and it will shape you for better or worse depending on how you meet it. Some will let the silence bury them, drowning in the echo of what was lost. Others will sit with it, listen to it, and slowly, painfully, begin to rebuild from it. The storm takes, the silence teaches. And if you can endure its lessons, you might find that the stillness you once feared becomes the ground on which you stand stronger than before. The lesson they can't escape: there are truths in life that you can turn away from for years, but they will always find you again. They wait patiently, like a shadow in the corner of a room, never moving, never blinking, until one day you turn your head. And there they are. The lesson they can't escape is one such truth. It is the knowledge that choices have consequences, and some doors, once closed, never open again. You may pace in front of them for a lifetime. You may knock, plead, or try to force them open, but all you will find is the cold, unyielding weight of a moment gone. This is the burden that follows those who fumbled their once in a lifetime chance. At first, they tell themselves they will find another way, that the world is full of opportunities, that time will be kind and present the same gift again. But time is not generous in that way. Life rarely offers the same chance twice, because the conditions that made it possible, the people, the timing, the alignment of events are as unique as a fingerprint. Once they are gone forever. And that is the lesson they cannot unlearn, that hesitation has a cost far greater than failure. Failure, at least, carries the comfort of knowing you tried. You can stand in front of a closed door and say, I knocked. I entered. I faced what was inside. But hesitation leaves you with nothing but an empty hand, and the knowledge that you will never know what was waiting for you on the other side. That absence becomes a constant companion. It sits with you in moments of joy, it lingers in moments of doubt, and it rises in moments when life offers you something new, not to inspire you, but to remind you of what you once let slip. The lesson they can't escape is not just about opportunity, it's about presence. It's about recognizing the weight of a moment while you are still inside it, instead of only seeing it when it has already become the past. Too many people live as if they have endless chances, as if time is a well that will never run dry. But the truth is, you don't get unlimited turns. Some moments will not wait for you to be ready. They demand you to step forward in the now, or not at all. And here is where the lesson sharpens into something uncomfortably clear. You cannot go back. You cannot barter with the past. You cannot undo the silence, the pause, the moment you stood still when life was begging you to move. You can only decide whether you will live the rest of your life as the person who missed that moment, or as the person who will never miss another. Those who carry this lesson in their bones begin to see the world differently. They stop waiting for perfect conditions. They speak when the words are still trembling on their tongue. They act before fear has a chance to root itself. They do not linger at the threshold. They walk through, because they know the weight of not walking through, and they know it too well to let it happen again. The lesson they can't escape is harsh, but it is also a gift wrapped in the pain of the past, meant to change the way they face the future. And if they can bear it, if they can let it carve them into someone braver, then perhaps in some distant moment they will find a new door. And when it appears, they will not hesitate, they will not wait. They will step forward, turn the handle, and enter before the moment has the chance to vanish, because the cruelest fate is to keep learning the same lesson, and never letting it change you.